Okay, I'm gonna try to do this one more time. My name is Karen. I'm coming to you from Straightway Ministry in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I am just here to share with you about different recovery Bibles. First of all, I want to say that every Bible is a recovery Bible, and that every Bible helps people to recover and be sanctified. And these Bibles that I'm sharing with you are Bibles that have helps in them that are particularly made for people with uh, addiction issues and sometimes mental health issues. They're more written for addiction issues than they are mental health issues, but there is a lot in them that apply to mental health issues. So this one right here is the first one. I'm starting out with the King James ones, and this is uh, it was available through my church, but you can get a copy of this with a different cover on it from Reformers Unanimous Program out of Rockford, Illinois. They have a website, and I believe it cost, last time I looked, only $4 for them, and it's worth the money. It's very simple. The first thing you see when you open up is the plan of salvation, and then there's an example prayer for salvation and a copy of the Reformers Unanimous 10 Principles. That they are different from the Celebrate Recovery 8 Principles, but this is the one recovery Bible that is not 12 step. The rest of the Bibles are 12 step. And then there's a copy of their statement of beliefs, and there's their counseling and study helps, which take up the majority of the helps. The helps are only in the front. And so this is a topical uh, help on things that people commonly face. And the difference in this Bible, one of them is that they actually have a paragraph or two talking about the issue, and then they have scriptures, like right here, they have fear, and they have scriptures on fear. And so, what I like about it is that they actually have a topic of suicide for people who are having suicidal thoughts. A lot of Bibles will have where to turn for help when, but you very rarely see a place to turn to help for at whenever you're dealing with suicidal thoughts, even though it's probably one of the most common problems that people are having whenever they're turning to the Bible in desperation. So after the topical thing, it's just a regular King James kind of starter Bible that, just starts somebody on the faith journey. So they have just the basic is what they need. And so the helps are written by the members of the Reformers Unanimous Program, and you can get that online. And this is probably the recovery Bible I've used the most, and this is Life Recovery Bible, King James Version, and this was my main Bible for a while. Its cover is blue, its binding is kind of broken because I've added pages to it, which adds a lot of bulk. So in the beginning, there's a lot of teachings on the 12 steps, which are the 12 steps from Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is not necessarily a Christian program. There are Christians who go there. You can apply its principles to Christianity, and they were taken from an evangelical Christian program that took all the references to Christ and Christianity out of the AA things. And so it has different things like biographical sketches. This is Isaac and Rebecca, and it'll have strengths and accomplishments, weaknesses and mistakes, lessons for their lives, and a key verse. And then there's a lot of devotional. At the bottom of the pages, there's footnotes on the different scriptures and how you can apply them to your recovery. And then there's Serenity Prayer devotionals, where this is one right here. And then there's devotions on the different 12 steps and on different concepts. Like this one is a devotion on step 2, and then there's devotions on topics like this one is on self-protection right here. And so this Bible has pages added to it and writing in it, and it was just very heavily used by me. So that is the King James Version of the Life Recovery Bible, and this right here is the NLT version. I don't like the NLT that much. I'm really not that fond of any version other than the King James Version. The NLT I don't like as much in particular because it's very watered down to the point that it's almost a paraphrase. So it's got all the same functions as the Life Recovery King James Version, which this was written by Stephen Arterburn and David Stoop. It's got the same devotions, and a lot of the same helps, but there's some things in the back where they have by Misty Arterburn, Steve Arterburn's wife, about thriving in a secular recovery group. And I think that's very important because whenever you are a Christian, you a lot of times have problems with. To me, there was always a huge problem with the secular recovery groups of like Overeaters Anonymous and Al-Anon and stuff, and like all of the groups, whether it be Overeaters Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous or Gamblers Anonymous, they all are secular groups that they ask that you have an idea of a higher power or a concept of a higher power that you do not necessarily have to call God. And so there's gotten to be a lot of very far-fetched ideas of what people use as a higher power and God. And so it can be difficult when you're a Christian trying to recover in a group where somebody is praying to their tattoo. The NLT, Life Recovery Bible, I pretty much use in Christian Overeaters Anonymous, and that's about it. This little Bible here is also used in Christians Overeaters Anonymous, and these two Bibles, the Life Recovery Bible, NALT, and the little Serenity Bible here, they were both heavily impacted by the flooding at my last apartment, and whenever I became homeless, I had all these Bibles drying out at Angela's house in her bedroom that I was trying to get back to help. But it has some teachings in the front on the 12 steps. It's very oriented to the 12 steps more than the other ones. And then it has throughout it, it'll have, there's three of them that have the little, steps something by the verses to show where they get it from. And then here is uh, the devotion on step 9 based on one of the scriptures here. And it's, uh, it's a good resource. It's not my favorite resource, but it's something to keep in mind whenever you're going through recovery, and it's a size that would nicely fit in a backpack or purse to take along with you. It's always good. If I have a purse or a backpack, I have some sort of Bible or New Testament in it. So that this book here, with trying to keep the authors, give them credit, was written by Dr. Robert Hemfeld and Dr. Richard Fowler. And so this is the NIV Celebrate Recovery Bible, and it's a very good resource. I don't use it as often, probably because it's NIV, but it's got a lot of, it's got the 8 principles, just like they did the 12 steps in the other Bible I showed you. It has little numbers with the 8 principles, which they're principles, and the Reformer unanimous principles are two very different, separate things. They're just both called principles. And so it has some teachings in the beginning on the different principles, which are the principles from Celebrate Recovery go along with the 12 steps, and most of them are taken from the Beatitudes. And then you have some biographical ones here that say, my name is Regina. I'm a believer who struggles with drug and alcohol addiction and anorexia. So it's a testimony of a particular person. And then there's inventory lessons for step 4, principle 4, and gratitude lessons. And here's another testimony by somebody. It's my name is Jim. I'm a believer who struggles with food addiction. And so there's a lot of helps in here, and it's there's some character studies here where it says my name is a centurion, and it is a very helpful thing. It was written by through the Celebrate Recovery program, and it's written by Jim Baker, which Jim Baker passed away a few years ago, or John Baker passed away, I'm sorry. Don't mean to confuse him with the preacher that got in trouble. John Baker passed away a few years ago, and his son Johnny is, taking over the ministry. So this is the Recovery Devotional Bible. This is NIV also. It's more of the 1984 NIV, but they do have a 2011 version. With NIV, it's there are different years that the NIV came out, because they will come out with a new one every so many years. The most recent one that came out was the 2011. Now, this is the 2011 NIV, but this is the 1984 NIV. The 1984 NIV was probably more popular, but it is no longer in print, but there are used copies of it that you can buy all over the place. It's not like it's unattainable. So, this particular Bible, it says that the general editor was Vern Becker and is Zondervan Publishing. So, what it has is there's a couple of introductions and teachings here, and then throughout the Bible there are life connections that give you an application of a certain verse, and then there are meditations that go Sunday through Saturday. There's 7 days a week, and they are written by different people who've written recovery literature. The reason why I'm not too fond of this particular version is that it uses a lot of works from authors uh, who are not born again believers, and unless you're born again, it's really difficult to, and it's probably impossible to really understand the scripture because you don't have the Holy Spirit there helping you to interpret it. So there's a lot of writings by John Bradshaw, and I had been into John Bradshaw's, whole thing whenever it came out. John Bradshaw was a pop psychologist from the 1980s and early 1990s. And even though there is some truth to it, the things that happened to us as a child affect our adulthood. We wound up my experience when I tried to do the John Bradshaw stuff was that I wound up, being wanting to act like a little kid and just play all day long and not wanting to be an adult. And a lot of it is the stuff that's unbiblical. He talks a lot about shame, and a lot about a lot of it is blaming the family of origin, and you can come from the most messed up family of origin in the world and still be the most healthy, wonderful person. I mean, it's hard to go through all of that, but it's something that, you can't blame everything all your life on your parents and your older siblings and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles or cousins or whoever, whenever you're 6 years old, if you do something wrong, maybe it's because of bad parenting, but when you're 46 years old and you do something wrong, there's really no way in the world that it's your parents' fault. So he goes a lot from John Bradshaw, and he talks from there's devotions by Melody Beattie too. Melody Beattie is her earlier work was really good. It wasn't necessarily Christian, but it was good. But her later work I didn't enjoy as much. The first Language of Letting Go book that she came out with was really good, but then when you get to the second one, it had to do with the pilgrimage that she had taken to different religious high places in the world, and either up things like you would go on top of the mountain in some of the Asian countries, and it was getting closer to God, or she would go to some place that had to do with Jewish Kabbalahism, which is kind of like a form of witchcraft, and it would have to do with different Eastern beliefs of Hinduism and Buddhism, and some places she went to had to do with Christianity or Judaism, but it really was something where I was disappointed when I read all of it, because it had to do with things that really didn't mean anything. You don't have to travel all around the world to get to know God. So this particular Bible, it does have the little numbers for the steps beside it, that, this particular verse has to do with steps 1, 2, 3, and this has to do with verses 4, 5, 6, 7, with steps 4, 5, 6, 7, that they're related. And I guess that I probably could get something good out of this Bible if I really looked for it. And one of these days, I'm going to have to actually go through all the devotions. I was just disappointed in seeing it. It's probably the one that I think is the least helpful. So I keep these Bibles around, and I keep different resources around, whether I agree with them or not, because I feel like I have to be informed if someone asks me a question about a particular resource, to be able to answer their questions and to be able to argue, the truth. You got to not only know what the truth is, but you got to know what's not true. As far as my ministry that I am trying to start, I am finishing up my mental health integration class. I got, a test left and some evaluations left, and it's gonna probably be over within the next week. And then I'm finishing up my People Smart for Ministry class that I had to retake because I couldn't finish it. I took the mental health integration mini course a year ago, and then around October they came out with the 3-credit course, and in November I signed up for it, so I'm just finishing that up, and I'm going to be finishing up People Smart for Ministry, and I'm going to be taking the I'm going to be taking for my degree that I'm trying to get, the college writing and college writing lab, and that'll finish up the classes I have to take for the first term. And so those two classes are required for the college, and then for my life coach, it's not required, but I think it would be good to take the total fitness class, and it's about health in every area of your life. I tried to take it before and I didn't finish it, so I'm going to try to finish it this time. And it has to do with everything from spiritual, emotional, vocational, social, every aspect of health. And I do have to take it for the degree. I don't have to take it for the life coach, but I think it would be helpful for it. And then I have 2 classes that I have to take to finish the life coach classes, and I have to take the life coach certification test, which does cost money, and I'm hoping to get some other people involved who would be interested in taking the classes and helping people out, and that we could agree on certain things to be able to work together. I'm not seeing it as being so much of a hierarchy where I would be everyone's boss. I'm seeing it as it being a bunch of people that agree to certain principles and practices and are willing to work together. So, um, yeah, that's about what's going on here. I am a little nervous about taking some of the academic classes because I'm almost 50 years old and I'm not like I was in my 20s or 30s, and it's harder to learn things. So I'm just going to try and uh, do all that. And I know somebody I can talk to who might be able to point me in the direction of finding some people. For me, it's just hard for me to leave my house and talk to people. I go to church, but I really don't get out among people other than that.